We are live. Hi, this is Peter Brusso for 101 Small Business Mastermind.com, and with us we have Richard Bentley and Crystal and Frank with us too today. Richard, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, my name is Richard Bentley, and I'm a retired sales and marketing executive, and I've started a home-based business with as an independent associate with Legal Shield and working from my home and providing prepaid legal coverages to companies and individuals and things of that nature. And Peter and I have done a lot of podcasting and marketing and senior scams and kind of getting technical knowledge in my old age.
Absolutely. And Frank, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Frank Syringa, and I'm I guess I'd call myself a pre-published author, and my focus is on prospecting, how to get people to notice you, and how to connect with you, and really, and to me is the utopia, how to get suspects to contact you before you contact them, and then what to say and not to say after they contact you, and that's what I'm working on. That's me.
Excellent. Crystal, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, certainly. I'm Crystal Miracle, and I own Miracle Transformations. It's a life coaching business. I have 4 different programs that I coach people through. I also have individual programs, and I have the tools, programs, and intuition to help support a client no matter what kind of life changes you're going through.
Good. We're going to need it. And we're welcome aboard, too, by the way, because I think it's so important as entrepreneurs. We just take a beating out there all the time. And, you know, any support we can get when we're down is certainly a good thing. And that's you're a good addition to the group for sure.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
You betcha. So we'll kick off. Everybody's going to do some talking points until we actually get. And Crystal, you're muting me.
Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you and I can hear me too, so don't mute me anymore.
Okay.
All right, so anyway, each week we're going to be talking points and stuff like that until we get somebody in the queue that we can actually work with. We have a week to work with at least. All right, so my talking points today is to take a look at Google's front page for any search on a keyword. And what you'll start to notice that Google used to be really famous for internet search and organic internet search and serving up relevant content to our search queries. That's how they built their business. Now, only 7% of that entire front page is organic search. The rest is all paid ads. And that's the unfortunate direction that things are going on the web. Organic searches are going to get harder and harder and harder to do. Should we quit? Absolutely not. There's some things to get around that so we can still play that game instead of having to pay to play is what they call it. Social medias have now picked up this. Facebook, for example, pay to play. If you put a post, it doesn't go out very far. It used to go out to your friends and your friends' timeline and your friends' timelines and all the way out, and it doesn't happen anymore like that. So they're really turning on the heat to try to make a profit. Nothing wrong with that, except for if you want to reach out to people, you got to pay to play. The other interesting thing that Facebook is doing is that, say I do a Google search for canoes, and I'm looking at some canoes, and then I jump over to Facebook, and all of a sudden I notice ads on my page about canoes. How'd they know that? Well, they're looking at your cookies on your browser. As soon as you log in, they look right at your cookies on your browser. And that way they can put relevant content ads over onto your page. If you've ever wondered how that all happened, besides your profile and some of the things you post, well, they're looking at your cookies on search in particular. And a lot of people don't know on Facebook, you can go over and turn the ads off. Up in the upper right-hand corner, it's very hard to see the little down arrow. They don't want you to see that, but you can turn them off. So that's kind of interesting. So one of the big questions is then, from an organic search standpoint, how do you get your name out there so that it's everywhere, it's ubiquitous? Anytime anybody does a search for your keywords, you're going to start to be in that 7% on the Google front page. And there, I got three important ways of doing that. One is like this, podcasting. Get out there, get video up on YouTube, which is the second largest search engine in the world and also owned by Google. So the more you podcast, and your podcasts, of course, they have taglines, they also have descriptions, and you use keywords and all that stuff. That's one way. Another really clever way is to get an Amazon store. And if you're going to write a book like Frank is, and I just published one book, I need an Amazon store. And Amazon stores are free. And you get them up there, and Google, of course, spiders Amazon like nobody's business, and they're never going to filter out Amazon results. That's just never going to start happening, I don't think, anyway. So Amazon stores with your keywords in them will get you listed as well. And then eBay, oddly enough, another ploy is an eBay store. And so between those two, and of course eBay is owned by PayPal, and so they're not going to start filtering those things out. Turns out very well. And then my final talking point was we have a gentleman in our 111 group that's a massage therapist, and let me see, I should give him a shameless plug here. Hang on a minute. And that would be sensationalhands.com. That's sent as in C-E-N-T, sensational hands.com. Eric, I was sitting there talking with him, and it had come up the previous week. I'd worked with a computer repair shop, and took them from $1,500 in sales a month to $11,200 in 20 days. How'd I do that? Well, one of the things that I revisited with them this year, I seem to do this annually with them, so I wanted to move them in the direction of HIPAA and HIPAA compliance, and that's a medical item. Every doctor, every occupational therapist, every sports therapy person, massage has to go along with HIPAA laws, which are federal laws about privacy. And along with that, their computers have to be checked, there has to be logs, there have to be all of this different stuff. And poor Eric didn't know that he might need to comply with that. That was kind of an interesting thing, that with guys with badges and guns that can come shut you down and put huge fines against you, they're not disseminating who really needs to deal with HIPAA and who doesn't from a business standpoint. So that's kind of my talking points, guys and girls. Dick, what you got going on?
Well, Peter, I was looking at an online survey that was done for small businesses. And it kind of follows what you were just talking about and what you've talked about on previous podcasts. And I think it's important for small business owners to understand that you could say you are online doing business. You could say that you are in the social networking world and you're on Google Plus and you do all these things. It doesn't really mean you are doing it correctly. And if you're not doing it correctly online, it could hurt you 1,000 times more than you realize, because there are millions and millions of people that see what you put out online. And if it doesn't hit them the right way, you've lost them as a potential client. Just a couple of statistics. I've never seen so much detail on a survey like this in my life, but just a couple of facts I'd like to talk about. It says the majority of small firms, 66%, maintain their website internally, while 30%, down from 41% 3 years ago, pay an outside company. And they asked the question, do you have an online presence for your business? Traditional website, 82% yes, 11% no, 6% in development. Mobile website, 18% yes, 49% no, and 8% development, and an app, only 5% have an app, 6% no, and 6% in development. Now, when we talk about what I've learned from you, and you helped me build my website and my mobile website, the importance of having a true mobile website, because of the growth of of smartphones. It's just exploding. It's going to, and more business is done by smartphones. More advertisement is done by smartphones. And if you say you have a mobile website and it's not a true mobile website, and people go to that, they're going to get turned off. So again, I think the overlying message that I'd like to leave here is that it pays to have someone who is an expert in the field look at what you consider to be your e-commerce business, the whole package. Most small business people can't afford to have on staff of qualified type of guys who has marketing and technical abilities, which is a unique thing. I know, Peter, I'll give you the shameless plug. You have a tremendous review that you'll do of people's websites and get back to them with a podcast video type of a response, and it is the most detailed type of thing that I've ever seen like that, and a merchant can take that and like you have said, go to
Mm-hmm.
someone else or go to you. It's immaterial, but you're gonna get just what you need to do to have a really great marketing site for your e-commerce business, and you get to have a true understanding of what it takes. So I highly recommend that people look into getting their site reviewed by an expert, and make sure you got an expert. You don't have someone who just calls himself an expert, because there's a lot of those around, and we've been in meetings and we've heard people talk, and if the people followed their direction, they'd be out of business probably in 6 months. So, and the second point I want to make, it goes along the same area, is the cybersecurity point of view. Just a quick fact: in the first quarter of 2014, there has been a record amount of companies that have been breached, 233 of them, resulted in 5,171,507 records that have been compromised. That is an all-time record, and the trend is going up every month. Now, the majority of small business firms don't even know a lot about cybersecurity, and I think that it is a very important part of their business. 94% of small firms say that they are very or somewhat concerned about cybersecurity, and 1 in 4 small firms have little to no understanding of cybersecurity issues whatsoever. Another reason to consult someone like yourself, Peter, or an expert in that field on how do you best protect yourself. And the last fact I'm going to leave you with is the average cost with a cyber attack among those targeted was $8,699.48. Among those whose banking accounts were hacked, the average losses were $6,927.50. The IRTC says it costs around $88 per record, and if you remember, I quoted the figure somewhere in the over 5 million records were compromised. That is a tremendous profit drain on big, medium, and small companies in our country, and it's something that you really need to have a really strong cybersecurity program in place. And with that, Peter, I'll turn it back to you or whoever is the next one who'd like to talk.
That's excellent. Frank, you want to take on the next talent here?
Sure. As you know, my focus is on prospecting and getting new clients. I was thinking about that after last week's meeting. Well, first of all, you never have a second chance to make a first impression, and that is true, and we all know that. So there's no revelation there. But the next time you meet a potential new client, will you be a dish of peanuts or will you be a mirror? Now, what the hell does that mean? I'm glad you asked. I'll tell you a quick story. My wife and I this past week went to go see the movie Heaven is for Real. Good show. Left a lot of questions. And on the way back, so let's stop at a pub for a quick nightcap. And as we get in, we go to sit at the bar. My wife says, "Oh, I've got to go to the restroom." I said, "Okay." I'm sitting there, just minding my own business, and I hear this female voice say, "Man, you look great." And I says, "Oh, I hope she's talking to me." I really do. And I look around, and there's no one talking. Okay, so I said, well, maybe my wishful thinking. A few seconds later, I hear, no, seriously, you, Frank, you look terrific. And I go, wow, it is me. And I look around again, and again, I don't see anyone. And now I think I'm going crazy. And I said, oh, this is really sad. A few seconds later, Frank, is that a new shirt you're wearing? Because you look fantastic. And now I'm feeling great that I'm getting praised here and guilty because my wife is going to come back any minute. Well, she comes back. And I immediately tell her the whole story because I don't want to get caught in anything. And I says, what do you think happened? What caused this? She looks around and says, duh, it's a dish of peanuts. They're complimentary. You get that? They're complimentary? Okay, all right. The point of that story is, thank you. I'm going to feel like Johnny Claus. Is this mic on? Okay.
It's on.
The point of the story is, when we meet someone, it's more important that they feel good as opposed to us performing like a mirror. Let me just tell you what the analogy of a mirror is. When you look in a mirror, what do you see? You see yourself. And what too many small business owners do is when the minute they meet someone that they think may be a potential customer of theirs, they start telling them how big their company is, how long they've been in business, all the awards they've won. They mention, oh, they're great customers. They mentioned bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, and it's all about them as opposed to spending all your time or most of your time making the person in front of you feel good. And that's the point I'm trying to make. As we talked about last week, since 2004, the marketplace is going through a major transition. And the transition is going to happen whether you join the transition or not. So you have three options. Here's my thing. Here you go. Three options. Option number one is get ahead of the curve and start transitioning your business now under the new marketing rules, which the leaders will do. Option number two is, well, I'm not sure. Wait until it's too late and then try to catch up. Or option number three is to ignore the transition, and you in turn will be ignored. When you're ignored, you're out of business. So my point is, it's all about the prospect. It's all about the customer. And if and when they are interested in what you have to offer, then you can tell them about who you are and why they should do business with you. Be a dish of peanuts as opposed to a mirror, and that is my talking point.
All right. Well, gee, that is a new shirt, isn't it, there, Frank? Is that a new shirt? You look marvelous, Frank. You look marvelous. So, all right, let's hear from Crystal. Crystal, you're up on the deck.
Okay, very good. Today I thought I would provide a few tips on how to be and remain positive. Okay, first of all, you want to focus on the things that you want. Don't even think about things that you don't want. Keep that out of your mind. Be grateful for the good things in your life. Maybe make a list if that helps you. Third thing, think and believe you're already abundant, successful, and happy. Fourth thing, feel, think, and act like you're already living that life that you want. Okay? Create an image in your mind of what you want. Pictures in your mind are always very effective. Look for the good in every single person you meet, kind of like what Frank was talking about. Always use words like I can and I'm able. Keep the negative out of your talk. Okay? Surround yourself with positive people. You want people that are going to lift you up to that level you want to be at, not drag you down. Read articles and books that inspire you. Also read about other people's successes. That will help elevate you. Okay, my last tip, do one thing you love every single day. Okay? And then we're going to do the flip side. What happens if you are a little bit stuck? You got a little problem or a little negative talk going on in your mind? I want you to stop everything you're doing. Take a few deep breaths, change your environment, go out for a nice walk, get a little nature walk in, and then focus on the solution. Get the problem out of your head and think solution only. Start to remind yourself of your successes. And once again, make a list if that helps. If you're somebody that likes to write things down, by all means, I want you to do that. Maybe you like affirmations. So here's a few that you could repeat in your head to kind of switch things around out of that negative mode. I think clearly, concisely, and correctly in all tasks set before me. Another one I like, I'm successful in all my endeavors for the good of all. Not just me, but the good of all concerned, okay? Remember, obstacles are opportunities to create a different result and for your own personal growth. What you focus on, that's the life that you will have, all right? And I hope these tips and strategies will kind of help you if you're having a tough day and want to switch things around. So remember, think good, uplifting, positive thoughts, and you will transform your life. That's it. That's what I have, Peter.
All right. Well, I'm going to get some beer and go out on my beach now. Sorry.
Let's
Come
go.
on.
I like it.
Take my nature walk out on the beach right now. That'll be good. You know, one thing to back up with that a little bit, and Dick and I are both familiar with that. Walt Disney used to ask people about a new ride at his theme park, and if 9 people said it was stupid, he built it. And it's based on the not invented here theory. And so, you know, for entrepreneurs, when they come up with an idea and everybody goes, that's stupid, you'll never make any money, that's stupid. You know, besides the affirmations, understand that Walt Disney went out and built the darn thing. And now who's laughing? Well, he's dead now, but he did laugh at one time all the way to the bank.
Well, it's supposed to be a new and creative idea. Nobody else has thought it up, so why not?
I agree. You know, it's so difficult to be an entrepreneur anyway, from that standpoint. Although Frank keeps pointing out, and he's absolutely right, that you know today entrepreneurs have more tools at their disposal to be successful than any time in U.S. history. And you know, with all those new tools, how is it that we still get bogged down in the day-to-day beat-up, and it is tough. It's not everybody's born to be an entrepreneur. There's just some people that just don't get it. They're not going to get it. It's not in their DNA, you know.
Well, you know, just to jump in, to kind of back up what Crystal was talking about, I think that we have all the tools. A lot of people have unique, great ideas. There's a market for it. They do all the things that are from a business point necessary, but one, do they really have the courage to go forth and do it? And two, do they have the proper frame of mind, the mental attitude to deal with whatever comes their way? Because you know there's something going to go wrong every day, and you're going to have to fix it. You have to stay positive, you have to stay on message, you have to stay focused. You know, as a quasi golfer, you know, I know when I go to the golf course and I'm in the kind of a negative frame of mind, my golf game is worse than it normally is. But if I go thinking, hey, I'm a pretty good golfer and I could do this, I usually shoot a decent score. So I think, to Crystal's point, I think, you know, as important as everything we talk about, from the mechanical parts to the operational disciplines and all the marketing strategies and all, is you have to have a really courageous, thought-provoking mind, and you have to have the courage of your convictions, and you have to be able to get up every morning and say, okay, throw whatever you want at me because I'm going to win at the end of the day. So I think that part is a very important. I'm glad she's participating in this. It's an unsung hero part of what we do.
That's very true. The other thing that I want to bring out too is that one of the natural things that an entrepreneur has to learn to do is to ask for money. A lot of people have a hard time asking for money, but you know, it's how you frame that money. You know, if you were always told that money was bad, and you know, to charge somebody something is bad, or your parents say that's too much money, I don't like these people because they're charging me too much money. You get it in your head that asking for money is not a good thing. Well, every capitalist knows that is a really good thing. And there's absolutely nothing wrong for asking for money when it comes down to your services, because you're providing a good service at a fair value that's, like Crystal says, good for everybody. Not just good for you, it's good for everybody. That's another thing that, hey guys, you know, don't work for free. That's unsustainable. You can do a little bit of that, but you can't do it forever.
No. I have strong feelings on that. As you know, I had 2 separate careers asking for money. One to my own company, which I traveled throughout the U.S. Raising money for my own high-tech company from doctors, and the other one was when I traveled Southeast Asia, raising money for 3 American companies. Um, and there's a lot of psychology behind that. And I no longer fear asking for money. It's amazing. I love to ask for money. My other strong point is if you believe that you are charging too much for what you offer, discount it. If you don't believe you're charging too much, I hate discounting. Because you never do less of the job, you just take less profit. And that makes no sense at all to me. To me, my philosophy is if you are good at what you do and you care and everything else, you should charge a premium for them to have a chance to work with you because you are that good. You are that good. And so and the last thing, I think we talked about this the other day, Peter, people value what they pay for. And I don't give
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I do not give things. If you give it away for free, that's the value you give assigned to it, and so will other people assign to it, $0. If you're good, charge for it. Anyway, so that's.
Yeah, I think there's a place too. When you're building your business up, you need some guinea pigs, you need some people, and to build a resume, so to speak. So, giving free stuff away for a while is perfectly natural and probably the right thing to do. But then, as you know what your worth is, then you start charging away.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're good, charge more. Apple has never once apologized for charging more for their products than IBM. Never once apologized. In fact, they're proud of it, which is why their profit margin's so high.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, their hardware is the same as IBM. I mean, they're all getting from the same source, Intel. And, so the hardware, why does an Apple thing cost so much? It's all a marketing. Matter of fact, on that same note, a bottle of wine. When I did the famous interview with Jason Gorman of Stormhook Wineries in South Africa, this guy, boutique winery, I've said this before, in 1 year rivaled the sale of Gallo in America, almost free advertising. And how did he do that? Well, you'll have to go over to 101marketingpodcast.com and read it. But one of the things, or listen to it, but one of the things he did say to me, he says, Peter, do you know how much wine is in every bottle? I said, I guess it depends on the size of the bottle. And he laughed because I'm an engineer. That's like a liter bottle or a liter and a half. It was a joke. But, he said it's 47 cents. Every wine bottle has 47 cents of wine in it. He said the rest is marketing. Wow. And you take a look at $2 Chuck now. Does everybody know what $2 Chuck is?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you know what $2 Chuck is.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Crystal drinks too good
I
of
don't.
wine. That's
I haven't
the
heard
problem. You do
No,
good wine.
you're too young.
So you don't go for the bargain basement stuff. Well, turns out a winery called $2 Chuck, I think they are, made a wine for $2, and that is sold at Trader Joe's. You can still find $2 Chuck at Trader Joe's. They took that wine to France, and they won a gold. The number one best wine in a French taste-off was $2 Chuck. Now, if that doesn't tell you that there's 47 cents worth of of wine in that bottle, I don't know what will. And here's $2 Chuck that actually wins hands down all this winery. And I know all the guys that love wine are going to be beating me up, but hey, go listen to the interview. This is the guy that wrote the book. I didn't do that. He did that. So, but $2 Chuck, there you go. Well, but they sell a lot of wine.
Yeah. I listened to that interview, and it was one of the most interesting interviews I've ever heard. And I mentioned to Peter, I hate to see it end. This guy is fascinating from a marketing point of view and his approach and how he built that winery. It's just absolutely riveting, and like I said, I hate to see it end. So I would recommend anybody go look it up. It's no matter what business you're in, you can learn from that.
Yeah, that's what we try to. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Again, talk about the 47 cents. It reminded me of a story I read the other day. How can Starbucks charge $4 for a $2 cup of coffee? And the fact of the matter is, they're only charging you $2 for the cup of coffee, but they're charging you $2 for the Starbucks story.
Absolutely.
And people are more than happy. In fact, they line up to pay $2 extra for their coffee for the Starbucks store. People love walking out or walking into an office room with that Starbucks logo on their coffee cup, and they're paying for that. And again, going back to what I concentrate on, uh, people buy your story along with your product. If you don't have a story, you're only selling a product. If anybody else sells that same product, you've become a commodity, and you better be the lowest price.
Yeah.
That's how the story, the packaging and the story, that we talked about is so important. That's why a 47 cents worth of wine in one bottle costs $22 versus $2, because people are buying the $20 story.
Or 300. Yes.
Right.
That's everybody's got to have a story. And matter of fact, people maybe not know this, but my partners and we invented a new vending machine that revolutionizes the vending world. And part of that was part of our partners were in the coffee world, and they could never understand. They were coffee service in LA. They could never understand how Starbucks could sell a $4.50 cup of coffee that was really something on the order of 15 cents. It wasn't $2; it was 15 cents, and they were coming from a point of view that they had been battling and battling and battling for market share, and everybody kept lowering the price of these cups of coffee. These are, of course, coffee service people that come into companies, and you buy coffee at 50 cents a cup, for example, and so the next guy comes and I'll do it for 48 cents a cup, and then the next guy comes at 47 cents a cup, and here comes Starbucks at $4.50. They all laughed at him. So, are you serious? What are you even smoking? And now who's laughing? And it's a culture. If you look at it, Frank, you're absolutely right. I think that culture that they have wrapped around that cup of coffee is what you're buying, is that brand of culture.
Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, last night, again, go back to my story. My wife and I went to Chipotle right down here down on 111 La Quinta, and I said, let's go early because I hate waiting in line. I think I should go to the head of every line. That's because I'm that good. And so we get to Chipotle at 5:05, and there's a line. I can't believe it. There is a line, and I'm sure they have good Mexican food, but people bought the Chipotle story. They used to be owned by McDonald's, and now McDonald's spun them off for whatever reason, and now they're one of the hottest stocks on the market, and people love the Chipotle, organic, raised here, and they've grown here, and that kind of story. And I think every one of us that I'm looking at, Crystal, Richard, and yourself, we all have to polish our story. We all have good stories, and we've got to make that story important. Because it is important.
Well, I have a problem of rewriting a wacko story, so there you go. Cycle. There you go. But
what is more wacko than Richard Branson? Look at his story, right? And Elon Musk. These guys are, and none of them played it safe. They all went to the edge. They all went to the edge. Anyway.
Well, coming from a guy who George Clooney plays in the movie The Men Who Stare at Goats. Come on, now, I stare at goats. Now, Richard Branson never did that. Come on. So there are levels of psychoness for sure.
People admire difference.
Yeah.
People ignore the same.
Well, that's true, and that goes back to that competitive analysis thing we were talking about. I learned about that tool, and I think it was 1998. Started developing that Excel spreadsheet tool, and boy, it really hits home with kind of sort of what you say too, Frank. If everybody's doing the same thing, then don't do that. And I've always said if everybody's thinking the same, nobody's thinking. That's been a key thing in all of my inventions. But anyway, so that competitive analysis tool I think is primo for any company, and you revisit it about every 6 months. People come in and out of your space, your thought leadership space.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
it is a wonderful marketing tool that I wish when I was in business, running my business, I had something like that, because it really a great tool. And to some extent, I agree with Frank saying if everybody's doing it, don't do it. But there may be some things that everybody's doing. You just got to do it better than they are. You got to
Well, that's
service your
part of it.
customers better. You got to offer a better value for what you're getting. I just think it. And I've had a very frustrating morning this morning with lack of customer service. I won't name the companies, but I mean, I was late getting on the call because I was in the middle of screaming and yelling at someone.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
And I won't get into all the detail, but the true lack of customer service in this country is getting worse and worse and worse. I remember back when I was working, it had to be in the mid-'90s. Tom Peters wrote a book, In Search of Excellence, and
Oh,
he
I
made the
remember that
comment
book.
that customers.
That one too.
It was a great book, and he made the comment that customers in the United States, I'm here to proclaim officially, has died. It is unbelievable trying to refill prescriptions for my wife's medications. It has been 6 weeks, and she has not gotten the refill. It's between our new Medicare laws, the lack of service with doctors, pharmacies, with mail-in pharmacies. I mean, I was ready. Luckily, I couldn't crawl through the computer because I'd probably be in jail right now. But I just think that if you find a way to service people better than else, you are going to just absolutely roll in success. I think that to me is, and and if I have a Mexican restaurant and it's Chipotle and it's next to this place that serves the same food, I'm probably going to get the customers because all my ingredients are fresh and the whole thing, and they got their story out, and they not only got it out, they backed it up with service, and that's what's a lot of people are getting the story out. If you are backing it up with service and actual results, so I just think that service and customer service and going the extra mile. I know in my Legal Shield business, I do the extra things, and after the people have bought the service, stay in touch with them. I make sure they know what's going on. They're happy. If they're not, I call Legal Shield, and that's just my service nature. But I'm sorry to get on this rant, but I'm just very frustrated this last day and a half trying to get service.
Yeah, I concur completely. I had a call yesterday, and of course my on-site business, a guy called and was shocked that he was talking to me. Okay, whatever, but he'd actually talked to one of my teachers for an hour, who then suggested to talk and go look at my site, and then he was so taken back by it, he called me, and I answered the phone. And he was just really taken back by that, and that's not the first time I've heard that. And I spent, half hour on the phone with the guy, but he bought $100 worth of stuff. I mean, you talk about good customer service. If you will spend some time with a client and show, you're really concerned about their success, kind of like back to what Crystal says, you got a both win-win kind of thing. It can't be one-sided. Yeah. And I think they really appreciate that these days. I don't know anybody that doesn't, and because everybody else doesn't do good customer service, does give us a great edge.
For a contrarian point of view, which I always love to have, I can think of only three, and please, you guys know more than I do. I can think of only three companies that built their company on customer service: Zappos, LL Bean, and Nordstrom. Anybody else come to mind that's where people say, "Oh yeah, outstanding customer service"?
Amazon.
Oh yeah, there you go. Amazon.
Wonderful customer service.
PayPal's another good one. PayPal's a phenomenal company.
Where I'm going with this, and then there may be 102 more. Customer service is not, Dick. In your case, good customer service is expected. And when those people you dealt with this morning didn't give it to you, they didn't even give you good customer service. It was such a red flag that if you have the moment you have a chance to change, you would change, because you were so disgusted by the way you and your wife's situation was treated this morning. So I think
I can tell you my Apple story.
Yes,
but I want to jump in, Frank. and disagree with you.
Love it.
Customer service may be expected, okay, but if you get it, you remember it. If you don't get it, you remember it. You always say the first impressions. You have one chance to make a first impression. Well, if you get customer service, you remember it, you go back again. If you don't get it, you don't go back. You could change. I changed 2 pharmacies in 5 hours and had the same. So that's how bad it is. So no, I think that attitude, the customer service is expected, is if a businessman says, okay, customer service is expected, and I'll be like everyone else, I guarantee you they won't be around 5 years from now. I totally disagree. I ran a business. I've dealt with customers, and to me, customer service was the thing, and I won more business because I went the extra mile than the other guy did. And it may have been expected, but when you don't get it, you don't get the business. So that's kind of where I'm on it.
Okay. You
Well,
and I
it kind of
disagree.
goes with, I've got a little comment. It kind of goes with whatever you put out there, you receive. So whatever you give, you'll receive. So if you're expecting good customer service, you should also give customer service, right? That kind of full circle deal.
Right.
Now I've got a little complaint about some of the IT help desks that we call. When you call in, our normal hours over here that we work, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., a lot of times they will go to a different country. I have a real hard time sometimes understanding the language. There's a language barrier. So I always really appreciate it when I get somebody over here that understands me and knows where I live and gets my problem and helps me. So I'm always very appreciative of that. I don't know if you guys have had those issues too, but it's always nice. Like when I dealt with Market Samurai, they were very kind and helped me right away. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, also the place where you host your website, cheap-domainnames.com, those guys are a reseller for GoDaddy. They're phenomenal. I mean, you always get an English speaker. You always get somebody there helping you. I mean, that's why I don't go anywhere else. That help desk, if they ever screw up and send it around the globe, oh gosh, God help us. I had an issue with Microsoft. I was on when my computer died, and I got a new one. It didn't install properly, and I'm talking to the Philippines. Yeah. And this guy was on the phone with me for an hour, well, on Skype anyway. And pretty soon he starts asking me questions about where I live, this and that. I mean, we were just dogging it because he was trying to figure out what to do. He was reading his scripts, and there's scripts, and it gets ridiculous. And they lost it when they went offshore like that. They really lost a lot of credibility, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, you're right, and Chris, I agree with you. Yesterday, I have a Brothers printer, and it's a low-cost one, and all of a sudden yesterday I started getting very light-colored copies, and the screen says your toner is low. Well, this thing doesn't have toner, so I called Brothers. I got this very nice English-speaking lady from America. I got her within 30 seconds. She spent 45 minutes showing me, walked me through how to clean the heads of the printer, cleaned it, it worked perfectly, and then she said, do you want me to send you a PDF file so if this happens again, you can do this without calling me?
Wonderful.
I mean, I could not thank her enough. Now, will I ever buy a random printer other than Brothers? No, never. So, I absolutely agree with you. It's just, you want to call, get your answer, speak to somebody you can understand. You don't have to keep saying, excuse me, I don't understand you. And I absolutely 100%. So, like I say, I will never buy another printer other than a Brothers printer.
Yeah, there are some minor exceptions that I have experienced with customer service. And when I took over the computer repair store 2 years ago, I was on the counter. And I wanted to be on the counter to be face-to-face with the clients to see what that's all about. And this one woman was just really upset with the quality of the service, and so I refunded her money. And then she said, well, you lost my laptop adapter. I'll buy a new one. And it's a Dell. So I bought her a new Dell. She came in, I gave her the new Dell, and then she went out, and about 30 minutes later came back in and says, this isn't a Dell. And I said, oh, yes, it is. I ordered it from Dell myself. Oh, no, it's not a Dell. And she holds it up, and the transformer side says Dell on it, but the AC power cord that it plugs into didn't have a Dell sticker on it. They never do.
Yeah.
And she goes, see, it's not a Dell. It's not a Dell.
Yeah.
And I turned to her and I said, are you really that much of an idiot? I mean, I honestly lost it. I lost it. I couldn't believe this. I said, this is a generic thing that everybody buys and plugs into the Dell, transformer, what that is. Let me show you. I'll even show you the receipt comes from Dell, but it's like, and then she says, well, I don't believe it's a Dell. And I said, I don't know what to tell you. I've given your money back. I even bought you a new transformer. What else do you want? I mean, I don't know what else to give you, But there are some cases where there are some clients that are really, really, really tough. Oh, gosh almighty.
Please, everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely
there's people. Another friend of mine is doing some consultation about blocking and stuff, and it's an elderly woman. And yes, he goes all the way to her house and does it, and she understands it, and the next day she doesn't know any of it, and he goes back and he's done this like 3 times, right? And he's on the phone right there with his boss, and he goes, yes, we're there, and she understands it again. So he hands the phone to her and says, I understand it, and then they're talking. He gets the phone back and they're talking, and then she goes, I don't understand it. I need him here again. That's like, oh my gosh, what do you do with that? Holy Toledo! Because those are the 1%ers. They're always going to have those.
Well, you're always going to get things like that. Yeah, absolutely. I was at a beat-up luncheon a couple weeks ago, and was sitting with a table with this, some ladies, and this one lady, I gave her my card. So you're with Legal Shield. She says, I have that. I don't like it. I said, well, what don't you like about it? And I won't go into the whole story, but I made an appointment and went to see her, and it turns out she's an associate. She has the whole program. She has no idea what she's doing. Whoever signed her up didn't do a good job at it. But she says to me, well, why would you take the time to come see me when you can't make a penny off of me? I said, well, you sat at a table in front of 3 other people, said you didn't like Legal Shield. I've got to change your mindset because I don't want you saying that to everybody you meet that mentions Legal Shield. And I spent time with her. Now she understands it, and she's going to be, at least neutral, if not, positive about it. But you can't, one person says you don't like Legal Shield, there's 3 other people hear it. I've lost those people. I have no chance unless they'll open up and talk with me. And it was really her problem because she didn't take the time to learn what it means to be an associate, what the program is, the whole thing. So, I
think that there's some times when, if you can repair stuff like that, you ought to do it, no question. Yeah. And then there are some people that I don't care, they're not going to ever change their mind no matter what you do. So, you gotta as an entrepreneur, you've got to know where to put your energy, and you always try to do the right thing constantly, and then double your efforts and triple your efforts, but there's going to be some people that just they've got an opinion, and you're not going to change that no matter what you do. So okay, they're allowed their own opinion. That's about all you can do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that brings.
No, I agree with that. You just have to know when to hold them, when to fold them.
Yeah, so when to walk away. Absolutely. You got. I believe they made a song about that, Barry White. For those that don't understand the Barry White comment, Nick had a cold last week, and I called him one day. And he said, I'm talking like Barry White. And I said, man, we got to get you to sing our introduction. So maybe we now have to go to Country Western and Kenny Rogers. I think it was Kenny Rogers who said that. Yeah. Song, right?
Yeah.
Gotta know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. Yep. Something like that. So yeah, we should hire you to do our bumper music here. Our lead in and lead out.
Oh, that might.
So Frank, you
attract a lot of people.
Yes. Talk to me.
Frank, I think that brings up we brought up some really, really good points. I think maybe you can summarize a bit. When we're entrepreneurs, about everything is about who we are. We are the story, like you were talking about, and customer service is certainly a big part of that story. Would you not agree with that?
Yes, but again, I'll go back to my original point. Unless you're a Zappos, a Nordstrom, and those I mentioned, And you, again, when we do our consulting, see, and tell me about your business, what makes you different? Oh, I answer the phone on 2 rings instead of 3 rings. And I say, who the hell cares? You know, what else do you do? You've got to get good customer service. That's a given. But unless you're a Zappos, you also better do something else pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm.
Good customer service, you've got to give it, because if not, people are going to talk about you and they're going to leave. Okay, that's point one. Going back to the story, Crystal, I don't know how many life coaches there are in the U.S. I assume there's more than 102.
I only know one.
Quite a few life coaches, yes.
I only know one good one.
Oh.
Thank you. Yes. And we all do. And Dick, we talked about how many Legal Shield people and so forth. What makes the small business owner or the entrepreneur special, unless he is doing something like curing cancer, which no one else can do, but if he's doing something that somebody else can do almost as well, their only competitive advantage is the one thing that can never be copied by anybody else, and that's themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why the Elon Musks, the Steve Jobs, the Howard Schultz, talking about Starbucks, Howard Schultz, Tony, I think his name is Shay from Zappos, they always, Zuckerberg at Facebook, and all those other guys, they always talk about this story. And each one of us, and Crystal, I'm not sure I'm familiar with your story, but I've known Dick for a few years, and I know about the goats with Peter, and I talked about my little red wagon a couple of weeks ago. But Chris, I look forward to hearing your story as well. And people, the internet since 2004 has become the most personal thing we have, aside from our family. As a matter of fact, we spend more time with our cell phones than we do with our kids as our kids get older. And people really want to connect with the people that they're going to trust with their time and with their money, or in your case, Crystal, the future of their lives. With the life, I mean, that what you do is extremely important, and it's transformational. If someone were to follow your teachings and your beliefs and your rules it is transformational. People can go from, I'll use from point A to point B a lot quicker in bed working with you than can working on their own.
Right, that comes down to accountability. So
right.
I totally agree with you.
But people want to know who Crystal is. Tell me, and somebody says, well, I'm not a Steve Jobs. I'm so, and I don't have a great story. I heard about this accountant in Atlanta. I read a story the other day about him. And accountants, and no offense to accountants, but they're boring. Accountants are just boring. And his moniker, his tagline was, "I'm the most boring accountant you'll ever meet." And people couldn't wait to meet him to see how boring is he. You know, I mean, has he met my accountant? He's more boring than my accountant. And it was just a way to make people say, you know what? I want to know a little bit more about why you think you're the most boring accountant in Atlanta or America or whatever it is. So people are buying you, they're seeing you, and they're trusting you, especially in your business, Crystal, especially in your business, and all our businesses, and we can't hide it. Matter of fact, the more abstract and less interesting you believe it is, the more intriguing it can become. The more intriguing it becomes, because no one has ever or will ever live your life. That's how unique and critical and special you are. And it's just a question of putting the package together, coming up with it, and not have to be a short story that says people say, wow, that is interesting. Yeah, okay, what else do you do? I can connect with you. Now tell me what else you do. And that's where I'm going with this.
Okay, well, I could give you a little synopsis of my life story if you want me to, why I got into life coaching. Would you like that?
Yes.
Sounds
That'd
good?
be great.
Okay.
Not to put you on the spot, but
Put her on the spot.
I don't mind winging it. That's okay. I was actually going through my own life struggles a couple of years ago, and I reached out to a life coach. There was so many changes. I moved across the country. I went through a divorce. I lost a business. I lost properties, everything. And I needed somebody to kind of help keep me on track, keep me positive, and to see where I was going to. Not where I was, but the dream of where I was going to. So that person helped me see how I could transform my life, and I started getting interested. Hey, I'd like to do that for other people. I'd like to give back like she gave to me. So I started to, as I was working as a project manager at utility companies, I started to study being a life coach, started to talk to people, and then I got my own certification. And it's just, I've worked with a couple of people that have just turned their lives a 180 degree, and it's just awesome. I just love doing this. It's giving back, you know, what I've been given. So that's kind of synopsis of my story. I went from a very, very technical job to a very hands-on, let me help this person through this situation in the best way that I possibly can. You know, it's just very rewarding.
Super.
Super.
Now, Dick, what the heck story do you have?
Well, first of all, I would like to say, Crystal, that your Miracle transformation, your last name is just designed for what you're doing. I think it's wonderful. It really is, yeah. And
Thank you. I appreciate that.
you know, my story is 74 years old. I don't have time to go through it all, but like I mentioned, I retired from sales and marketing and electronics distribution. The company I left was $1.7 billion, and I ran sales, marketing, inventory management, and a few other things for it. Was on the board of directors. We sold the company. I consulted for the company that bought us for about 4 or 5 years, part of the company with them, and then I was retired for, I'd say 3 years, 4 years, and I really started getting bored, and I really felt my my mental capacity slipping as far as staying current and all. You know, read a lot of books and things of that nature, but I decided to look for a home-based business. Did the research, found Legal Shield, did some research on the company, was impressed with it, loved the product, and been doing it for about 1.5 years, and you know, I'm really enjoying it. It's diversified. I speak with individuals. I speak with home-based business people, small company business, groups benefits, and it's really fun. So my story is, like I say, 74, and I about 6 months ago I met someone who was, maybe from a life coach point of view, has changed my life, and that's Peter, because all of a sudden I learned how to build a website, how to build a mobile website, podcasting, blogging. I'm doing all these things that when I was 73 I couldn't spell. So it's been an interesting year.
And you do a good job at that. And you do a very good job at it,
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah, that's great. That's part of my giving back. I love to hear stuff like that. You know, when you can affect people's lives like that and bring them more business, and that's doesn't get better than that. And you get paid for it sometimes. Even better than that. So
that's even better.
All right, we're coming up on our hour mark. Let's do a summary. From my standpoint, back on my points again, hey, make sure that if you're doing keywords, that they're really good keywords, and realize you're going to be competing for that 7% of Google search on the front page for your keywords, and the game plan, of course, there is to broaden your footprint on the web. That's and it's pay to play is coming. It's just going to be there. As small business owners, how do we work that? That's kind of my summary there. Dick, you want to summarize where you were?
Yeah, sure. I kind of reinforce what you're saying as far as if you're in the social e-commerce world, make sure you're in it the right way and you know what you're doing. And I think if you listen to this discussion, you can see, there are different ways to approach, starting and being a successful business person. There's just different philosophies. But I think what the small business owner has to do is sit down, decide what is he good at, and then find out what else has to be done and find someone that's an expert that can help him do it. And that's kind of my summary.
Good. Frank, you want to summarize?
Sure. Again, I guess I'm going to talk about this in a couple of weeks. One of the most insincere questions you'll get at a networking meeting when people ask, what do you do? Because they really don't care. The question they're really asking is, what can you do for me? And unless you can answer that, then I really don't care what you do, and I'm going to forget you as soon as I can because you're not important to me. But we talked about the transition time. It's not only what you do and what you can do for me. There's been a third element that's now been added to that whole equation because of what happened in 2004. And the third element, and I'll go into this in much more detail, one of my talking points in the future is not what you can do, not what you can do for me, but how will I feel after you've done what you did for me? I really care about how I'm going to feel. And unless you're going to take away a lot of pain that I can't handle, or you're going to make me happier, then thanks, but no thanks. That's where we're coming.
Good. Crystal, you want to summaries?
Yes, I just want to remind you to be grateful for all the good that you have in your life. Believe in yourself, and remember, you can do it.
All right. Okay, guys and girls, it's been another show. Anybody have any closing comments that they want to do? Otherwise, we'll say good night, Dick.
Good night, Dick.
All right.
Good night.
All right. Everybody have a good one.
You too.